Welcome to Tacos and Trends, the podcast by Made Trends, where we explore the intersection of culture, consumer behavior, and the trends shaping tomorrow. Today, we're going to speak with my friend, Alex Gupta. We're going to talk about trends, and we're going to talk about business development and what it means to be a woman in business. Alex Gupta, I'm going to give a little bit of background on you. You are a real estate agent focused on the market in Brooklyn, correct?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just to give a little stats here. So 1.5% of the New York realtors and over 120 million sold, correct?
I can't believe it, but yes, very much correct.
Congratulations. That's amazing. That's amazing. Anyone listening, if you like what you hear, please subscribe below, share, follow us, and stay tuned for more content like this. Alex, thank you for being here. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you started your real estate career? Maybe also, what did you do before real estate?
Before real estate, I was in the medical field, not a doctor, not a dentist, nothing fancy, more on the admin side of hospitality or a hospital. And so I loved it. I realized I always loved helping people, but I also always knew I wanted to run my own business or be an entrepreneur or to some extent be my own boss. And so I quit 4 years in, had no idea where I was going, what I was doing. 6 months later, I had to pay my bills. And I reached out to a recruiter friend of mine, and she suggested I go interview with this real estate developer in Midtown Manhattan, super high-end luxury developer. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what that meant to work for a developer. I went in, I got the gig, and it was nice. It was special. The location was right on Fifth Avenue. I was right across the street from the plaza in Bergdorf. I felt so fancy. Loved real estate. I love seeing sales, the build out, breaking ground. I worked for a development firm for about 2 years. And he does some ultra high net worth building. So that was nice to see that side of real estate, almost the top 1%.
Okay.
And I learned a lot there. And then I realized I still wanted to always be on my own, be my own boss, kind of wake up and do my own schedule, not be like tied down to a 45-minute lunch break. So that's what I did. I got my real estate license. I interviewed in all the big houses from Douglas Elliman to Corcoran, a few others that aren't really around anymore. This was 10 years ago. I ended up with Corcoran. It's specifically because Barbara Corcoran was a founder and CEO. She had sold her business by then, but she was a founder. And I always find that the hierarchy trickles down to the CEO and the managers. And that I learned earlier on. So I knew it was going to be just a great environment for women overall. And they were already a big name in Brooklyn. And I knew I wanted to stay in Brooklyn. I saw everything that was happening. I grew up in downtown Brooklyn. I grew up here in Brooklyn all my life, went to school here. Brooklyn girl through and through, proud of it. No shame in saying that. And I was excited. And now 10 years in, I'm so excited that people want to live here and raise their family here. This is like a trending place, and it's been trending for years, which is nice.
Definitely. Okay, so I think that's like interesting. Lots of things to unpack there. So you went with a female-founded company. I love that. Also, just to give us like a soft plug for anyone who's listening, for Women's History Month, Alex and I are hosting, we're calling 5x5, a female founder panel with Soho Works in Brooklyn, 19th of March. You'll find the details below or follow any of our social handles to get your invite to hear some amazing women being tips and hints on what it's like to be in the business world. Mm-hmm. And also, Alex, I wanted to get into this. Speaking of trends, I saw a recent article from you in Apartment Therapy. I was like, oh, is she coming for us? I saw your trend forecasting. That was a great article. Tell me, and maybe just like tell our listeners, like, what do you see happening in home trends right now? Maybe just like a little recap from the article.
For sure, home offices. You can't get enough home office space, for sure. That's a big one. And even if you're not a family of 4, they're still looking for large spaces. They're still looking for the 3, the 4 bedrooms, the things that are never going to go out of style, like outdoor space is always an amazing luxury to have. And more people want that, or just an indoor-outdoor space. And maybe not so much what's inside the apartment, but what's around them, the community, right? Where they live, what's around them, who's around them. I think that's really important for people.
Yeah, it's interesting. And all joking aside, I've aligned so much with what we're seeing. we definitely see people like leaning into their homes, right? And that's my personal experience as well. Like before, you would like compromise space for location, maybe, right? Especially in New York.
Yeah.
But I've seen that as well with like my peers as well. Like everyone, I see some people looking for like 2 home offices, because if you're like a family, also there's this idea of people are really, and we see it a lot with like Gen Z, they're like homebodies. They're not going out. They don't want to party. They want to like build a home. They want to have their community in. They want to cook. They want to have their book club. So they need space. And we've started to see more because of a financial piece. I don't know if you've seen this as well, but we've definitely seen from a sentiment of multi-generational homes coming into trend again with like Gen Z not really being able to like buy homes on their own, but maybe they're like, they could share with a parent, maybe a single parent or like a widowed parent, where we've seen a lot of interesting research of like how Gen Z is planning to like build their home and what that looks like.
I think similar to that pattern, I do see siblings buying homes together, especially if they're a multifamily and they're one building, but 2 separate units. And you have, whoever has a kid lives with the outdoor space and the other one lives on the second unit. Siblings, that's a big one. Or just like best friends, college friends that are on the same level, right? Their wives are both pregnant at the same time, or they're going through some transition at the same, they both want to move to Brooklyn at the same time. And so, yeah, we're seeing a lot of that with co-buying, parents buying with and for and gifting children has been very popular in Brooklyn for sure. I think the price points are fair enough that folks can buy straight out, can just gift their children cash, which is a great luxury. And most of my clients are so appreciative of it. And that's it. Like the mother-in-law suite is never going to go away. You always need room for the parents, especially if you're planning on a family and kids. Please take all the help that you can get and have a place for them.
No, definitely. Definitely. I think that that's like interesting because we've been talking so much, I know with you as side conversations as well, of this like about Gen Z and specifically what they mean to all markets. But I think it's interesting, right? Like the statistics show that like actually like Gen Z is going to inherit so much generational wealth, right? So we see it across all areas, like what they're doing for homes, what they're doing for businesses, how they're crafting their life. So it's like interesting that you've already seen that in practice. Yeah. From a trend perspective as well, I can't help myself but ask, like, since you're obviously inside a ton of homes and you're staging them, have you seen any crazy new interior design trends of like when you stage a house, it has to have this? It feels like the moment of millennial minimalism is kind of decreasing. I know from a trend perspective, we see like a lot of like maximalist. I don't see that in home staging, like really working, but what's the tea? What are you seeing inside these homes?
I would say more people definitely like a dining area or dining table. They love entertain. The open concept, living kitchen, right? A huge island where people can gather around is always going to be popular. There's some negatives to it, but I think overall it's just a nice aesthetic to have. So open is always nice, and just warmth. Like you want the carpet, you want the luxury rug, you want the nice comforter on the bed, you want it to be bright and welcoming. Those trends are never going to go away for sure.
Amazing. Are most of the people who you're selling to already living in Brooklyn, or are they transplants?
I would say 50-50.
Okay.
For sure, 50-50. A lot of them they lived in Brooklyn at one point and then they moved back to Manhattan, or they just moved away. COVID was a huge hit on both. Okay. We're going to LA, we're going to California, we're going wherever we're going just back home. And now you see them coming back for sure. I think Brooklyn has this je ne sais quoi of being super family friendly and being very neighborly. A lot of the neighborhoods are seriously just like Sesame Street. Like you can't make it up. And the people are kind and helpful. They're successful. Don't get me wrong. They're successful, but they're also kind, down to earth. And people like that. People like the secretive, the kind of incognito type of lifestyle.
Yeah. Amazing. Interesting. To get into more about how you're running your business and things, I know we connected as well talking about like biz dev. Do you have any? Biz dev is haunting me nonstop. I love it, but I hate it at the same time. What's your hot take? And any like secret sauce?
I think if you want to be an entrepreneur, a founder, a boss, whatever self-employment term you want to use, you have to be okay with business development. You have to be comfortable with talking to strangers. You have to be comfortable going places by yourself. I think the best thing to do is go to events by yourself Because if you go with a friend or, someone you already work with, you're just going to spend the entire time with them. Sometimes you got tag team if you go on with the plan, but going places by yourself, I think that's really hard for anyone to do, female or male, any age. And then also just connecting the dots and learning how, yes, you're meeting people and you would hope they refer you business. But if there is a world where you can send them business, you can just make an introduction to someone else. That I think becomes more memorable, and you build relationships like that. So you need to be committed.
I'm by nature quite shy. And it has never occurred to me once to go to an event by myself. 100% will only go with someone else from work, or I have like a partner in crime who will like remain nameless, but we like to like, that's like more of a like, okay, you get like, that's very strategic. Like you get these people, I'll get those people. But I feel like it's a safety net. I'm going to like give myself a challenge. Like 2025, I have to go to like at least 5 events. It's like making my stomach hurt just thinking about it. Like I could host the event, but just to go cold to the event that's good advice.
The one thing with entrepreneurial lifestyle, it gets a little lonely, right? Because all your family and friends, they're at that 9 to 5, and then they're going home. They don't want to go anywhere else. They just work 9 to 5. They just want to go home. They don't see the point, or they just don't see the point. Why am I going to this? Why am I talking to these people? But if you're a founder, I work off commission. So it's like, it's a constant hustle. And I think another part, you have to genuinely like meeting new people, and you have to genuinely like being social or being somewhat an extrovert at times. I do consider myself an introvert. I will do things, and then like by day 3, by 4, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna hide under my covers for the entire day. So I totally get that too. It's definitely a push for me, 100%.
I think that's so interesting. I've never heard anyone, I can like relate very much to this like loneliness of like, so I've been like an entrepreneur for the last 10 years. And it like, I think there's like the outside perception of it where everyone's like, oh, you're your own boss. Yes. I mean, maybe, and especially whenever I was younger, people are like, oh, I wouldn't start work till 10. Like, like I take every lunch. And I was thinking all the time, like, that is not what my reality is. We don't work on commission, but we work on like client fees. I was like, it feels like I have like however many clients we have, that's how many bosses I have. And they don't know that the other boss is calling me at the same time. Like 5 bosses could be calling me at the same time. And since you don't know like when you're going to have to deal with that, I know like pre-kid, I was like always like, okay, from 5:30 to 9 a.m. is whenever I'm like the most productive. Like that's when I work out. That's whenever I get all of my work done for the day, because I feel like come 9 a.m., I don't know what these like 5, 6, 7, 15 bosses are going to want. So no, it's true. I feel like you have to be like, it requires like a lot of like extroverted energy, which is like sometimes hard to like summons up. And I think it's interesting because of this like need to connect and this need for like business development. It's a little bit kind of what happened as like for us with like Tacos and Trends. The idea with Tacos and Trends was just like, oh, we have this content and there's a lot of demand outside of our client base to share it. But as soon as we decided, oh, maybe tacos, like we're going to open up this Tacos and Trends, literally why everyone came, and all the response has been to the community, the connecting, the ease of business development. And I think we were like, to your point, I like to connect as many people as possible. I think some people don't want to share contacts. They're afraid you're going to steal their business, like lots of different things. But I'm like, if you know me, you can know them. And I'm always like, there's enough business for everyone if you're doing your job right. But that's not a shared sentiment with everyone.
I mean, you just hit on so many points. I feel like I mentioned this before, we're kindred spirits. Totally. Specifically in New York. I don't know about any other market. I know California is another beast, Florida, and then you have much smaller markets, right? In like the Midwest. In New York, there's so much business. It's kind of ridiculous. So there's always room to go around. And also the people who are supposed to work with me and should work, they will work with me, right? Yeah. And I never need to worry about, I need to make sure I stay memorable or be on top of this person, because if I wasn't memorable to that person, then I probably don't want to work with them anyway. Like,
like there's not like this synergy. No, I agree as well. Like we had actually kind of pulled back on business development, which is because we had a lot of growth during COVID. So we were kind of like trying to, and it was like, it had legs. And so we're trying to get it under control, that amount of growth, and be like, okay, strategically, what's next? And so we had pulled back a little bit on biz dev, and it was like, I was like, oh, this is so nice. But then I immediately saw like the effects of it, which I didn't think. And so I was like, oh, it's interesting as well. Like that stamina, you have to always be doing biz dev as well. Even I find like for myself, like if it's not in like, granted I'm in forecast and like we're talking about strategy, but also just like constantly doing the business development, like helps keep me informed of like what else is going on out there. And like sometimes it even just like inspires, if it doesn't lead to like business deal, it inspires like a new way of thinking.
Well, that's why I like the networking. I like when it's, I love networking just for women for kicks and giggles. But on the professional side, it keeps me informed and it keeps me on my toes. And if I can speak to attorneys or trend forecasting or in social media folks, like what's going on, what's happening, what are you seeing? All those tidbits help not only me in my own business, but also helps me inform my clients. Like
Definitely.
you mentioned, you have like 5 different bosses. So at one time I can have 5 different bosses who are looking to buy and sell and rent in different time zones at the same time. Yeah. And then one prefers only email, one prefers only Zoom, one I need to call and kind of cater to you. And nobody knows the other exists, and they're not supposed to know because it's customer service based.
Yeah.
Right? No, it's service for sure.
I think that's like such a good point. I think that like, we talk has been like a little bit like social media adverse. Here we are doing a podcast, but I think as well that it's like part of, I think for me, the social media is great. Obviously you have to have it, but at the end of the day, I agree. Like, I feel like customer service is like king. Like that's the same thing. Like you could not know what time zone I'm in. Like we always laugh. I worked in Europe for a long time and we had a big client in Los Angeles, and she literally without a fail, like she knew I was in Europe, but she preferred to call at 3:00 in the morning. But I knew she was going to call. So I just took her call every Thursday at 3:00 in the morning because I was like, it just like, that's what works for her. Let me be flexible.
Yeah. And also it's also for me, it's transient, right? So I meet a client, ideally they're ready at that time. And then 3 to 6 months, we find something, we close, and it's just like, that's it. The relationship is over. Sometimes it continues. So I love social media to keep up with them, right? Like their birthday picture, congratulate them on the promotion, the new baby, whatever is going on, that pings them to just, I like social media for that, to be completely honest, just to keep up with the clients that I've done business with. I can't go to coffee with everyone every single day. That's impossible. And same for professionals, folks that I've met along the way. And, when they say congrats on your anniversary and I say it back, and it's nice. It's neat. And you say top of mind for people, which is that's what social media is great.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So more about social media and like what we see. I'm interested to know. So we see a lot of real estate on Netflix.
Yes.
How much does your day look like this, Alex?
I'll be 100%. I have not watched television since my son was born, because whenever the TV is on, it's from something for him, because I'm trying to do something else, like cook dinner. But I used to be an avid watcher of $1 Million Listing.
Okay.
That was a killer show, and the talking points were actually really good. But same idea with like the day-to-day, very unrealistic. For a real, what happens in real life. I'm sure if I were filming, I would make it seem as luxurious as possible, hair and makeup done to the T. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with staging a house, when you're dealing with photos, when you're dealing with literally running around, there's only so many hours in a day. So for one day, if you're back to back, sneakers are my best friends. Like a nice pair of quality, maybe like brand name sneakers, so I don't look, so bummy. But sneakers are my best friend. A nice overcoat, right? Especially on the winter days, is my best friend. And like, just go and get it done. But shout out to the girls on there wearing the 5-inch heels, man.
It's crazy.
If I'm showing a townhouse with 3 levels, I can't show that in 4-inch. Like I would get a massive, my calves would look insane. Maybe I should do it. It would be an amazing workout. Maybe I should do it. It would be an amazing workout. But so living in New York, right? Living in New York, it's just impossible to look that cute and get the job done.
Like as part of our customer service, we're also like running from client's office to the next client. We might have a lot of samples. Then we're shopping, really a new store. There was like a time maybe in the beginning where I was like I was trying to like wear heels more often than not. But like in the end, I feel in New York City, you got to like run around. Like I got to get on the subway.
The fall and winter are nice because you can get away with wearing a boot And that's still a heel. And that's so the boot trend. I'm on the boot trend. That's something. I guess it would really depend on the client I'm meeting at the time. But I would probably do my best to meet them if they're like a big fashion person. But besides that, day to day, and then also as far as like day in the life, honestly, a lot of these apartments that are vacant, half the time you're like cleaning the toilet bowl because it's, you know, no one's using it. So you got to flush it, turn on water, make sure everything's on, cleaning dust with Clorox wipes. You know, you want to make it presentable for the buyer who's coming in to see it. Maybe I'll film a day in the life of.
No, literally you should. I feel like that's like very, very interesting. And yeah, I think I didn't even think about that like you like are the first like touch point right before the customer. So if things aren't perfect.
Right. Or if someone's living, the vacant ones are easy. If someone's living there and they just have their life, like the kids' toys are everywhere, they're like running out because I have an open house in 5 minutes, pick everything up, throw it under the bed, like touch everything up, you know, touch their personal items, get everything together. So it looks like the photos, amazing photos that I just took, you know, but yeah, so it's very interesting. For sure.
Last question before we wrap up here. I know we have this in common. Any tips or hints on like this question always makes me laugh, but like balancing being like a full-time entrepreneur and a full-time mom?
Oh gosh.
The face pretty much says it all. I feel the same.
I would say, you know what, balance. I found that balance and rolling with the punches are two different things, right? Totally. You'll have days and weeks and like the baby wakes up and we get to school on time, we're dressed, no fussing. I'm even doing a yoga class. It's all nice and bright. And then you'll have days where he's like, nope, I'm not putting on those shoes, so can't make me. And then we're like an hour late. But it's okay. You just have to take it in stride. And also it puts things in perspective, right? Like it puts time in perspective, your priorities in perspective. And it also makes me, for what I do for work, very direct on who I want to work with, the type of client I want to work with. And it makes me hyper focus on that. And I think that's more important than anything, that I'm prioritizing my life, my time, and kind of getting everything in order. So you just get things done. You get things done and you just keep moving and that's it.
No, I agree. I heard someone the other day speaking and they said balance. Like, I don't think that's real. Like, it's like exactly what you said. It's just like, okay, getting it all done. And like, sometimes there's more of one or sometimes there's more of the other. But it's that, like, I think you just like keep showing up for both. Also, I see already, like my son's just a little bit older than yours, but I think they like really like recognize like, oh, mommy goes to work.
You're going to school. And then he's like, oh, but where are you going to go? What are you going to do? It's like, what? Or even when I come home and if I have an event and I come home a little later and his dad or my mom picks him up, I come up, where did you go? What did you do? Yeah. And I tell them where I was at, but it's insane how they understand. And also I just have one kid. Cannot imagine the two or the three. Yeah. No. God bless the families, the moms. They're the real kind of they're the real bosses for sure.
To leave on like a funny note, mine told me I left for work and he said, "Mommy, make money." And I was like, okay. And then he was like, you bring home the coins, I spend them. I was like, who is teaching you this? I was like, I like the enthusiasm for the family business. But I was like, that is kind of true. Whenever I looked around like our home full of like 4 million toys. I was like, I will go like make the coins and then we will fill this house with tons of toys.
Yeah. Or go on a vacation. That's why I am telling you. I was like, I have to go to work to make money so we can go to the water park, which is going on vacation somewhere. And so he's realizing that he tells me, okay, like he has no question about what I'm saying. He understands what I'm saying, which is insane.
That's cute. That's cute. Alex, thank you so much. This is a pleasure. For anyone who's interested to learn more about Alex, her contact will be down below as well. And also come out to see us on the 19th of March at Soho House in Brooklyn. And we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we'll link the